where are the papers? Good. What are they talking about this morning?
Well, I have just 3 papers this morning. I don't know what's happening to the newspapers. Maybe they're still in the holiday mood.
It's just the way the industry is. The industry has just gone south.
Well, but we still have the inside with us. You know, one of the oldest. So the inside says this morning, Election Watch demands police intervention to ease rising tensions in NPP primary election. Also on the front page this morning, rekindle the flame of Pan-African solidarity. The Vice President is urging Africa in historic visit to Guinea. And then there is one here blasting the U.S. United States gangsterism and bullying must be resisted on the streets. Left parties in India declare.
So I have Daily Guide this morning. Ken opens wide lead in NPP race. Bawumia beats peace drums. NPP flagbearer race. Aspirants to sign peace pact. And Dubai, India account for 98% of small-scale gold exports. And then also Heath Goldfields pays 136 million Ghana Cedi liabilities to former workers.
Let me take you to the New Republic. The big story says OMC bosses in jobs over who wins and loses floor price race as public hails Mahama. Also on the front page this morning, a Ridge Hospital scandal forces ministry's hand. We're told that they are setting up a committee to act within 14 days to investigate the matter and bring a report. And bring Ken home. Angry mob storms U.S. Embassy to drag VIP fugitive former minister home to face justice. Some of the stories make the front page this morning.
Daily Post leads with 37 military hospital commending the National Health Insurance Authority for prompt payment of claims. And then also Tema Oil Refinery can cut Ghana's fuel imports by half if fully revived. This is the Deputy MD. IES defends NPA price floor policy amid debate over fuel pricing.
And let me take you finally to the overseer. GRA's AI initiative at ports to boost revenue by 45%. We brought you the story yesterday. At no cost to importers. Also on the front page, pleased. It said, please contest. Okay, please contest to represent us well. Nima NDC grassroots appeal to Amina Adams. And then also, I only believe in election day poll.
All the other polls, we don't believe
polls saying so many different things.
That'll be correct.
Let's do the catalyst and the graphic.
The catalyst has the refreshing story of Tor's comeback. NPA chief salutes Tor comeback as Refinery returns to national energy map. Gabi seeks assurances of Oforiatta's return. Ambassador Smith from ICE detention. Oforiatta faces U.S. court today. And Ezeama sets BOG's 2026 agenda after hard repairs.
The Daily Graphic leads with a very troubling story. 98% of lands can't be registered. Owners at risk in disputes. I'll give you the details of this story. Also, Oforiatta case. Arthur Kennedy urges voluntary return. Ayiko Otu backs trial in absentia. Meanwhile, name airport after Kwame Nkrumah, not Kotoka, according to renewed advocacy.
I agree with that.
And Immigration Council unveils new project for border protection. Pastor Wengam is in a handshake with the Interior Minister Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak. CitiNewsroom.com leads with government to probe auction of 300 Metro Mass Transit buses. IFC injects up to $300 million to stabilize Ghana's cocoa supply chain. In other stories, at Abraka Gold robbery, 3 more suspects picked up at Ashaiman.
Right.
Meanwhile, GPRT to hold crunch meeting January 20 today over commercial vehicle ID tags. And Otunfo and Stools Dasebre Osebunsu the third as Mampong Hini. Meanwhile, UTAG UG is not happy. They say GTech is undermining university autonomy. This GTech UTAG legal matter. Meanwhile, Transport Minister rejects claims of non-performance. All these and more on CitiNewsroom.com. Channel One News leads with the IFC story. Ghana must sustain economic stability to build investor confidence. Meanwhile, drivers blame high daily sales targets for short trips. Sky. Last week they blamed the roads. 2 weeks ago they blamed something. Today they are saying it's the high daily sales. Meanwhile, IES says fuel market stability as risk without a price floor. This is something we should look at today. The fuel is a good battle between the two leading locally owned OMCs. Let the prices fall. Court refuses bail for Seidu Abagri. That's also on ChannelOneNews.com. And as I read, UTAG UG demands GTech bosses step down by January 31. I don't know why they are asking for this. Meanwhile, Trade Minister says cement manufacturers to keep prices at affordable rates. We're keeping an eye on this. MyJoyOnline.com this morning is heavy on NPP. The whole nation wants Kennedy. And will make strong case for Agyapong. Meanwhile, Ghana's mining reform risk choking investment, says industry body Kanashigbe and Co. And then in other headlines, Benin opposition fails to secure seats in parliamentary election. And IES defense price floor. The High Street Journal has a very important question. Why Ghana's banks are financing imports of our local industry? It's a mystery that we will unravel. And then cocoa at large, Ghana's export stronghold no longer certain. Let's get into the details, gentlemen.
Okay, before that though, let me just quickly tell you about the BNFT. I have the soft copy here, courtesy Daniel, and it says equity rally mass deep concentration risk. Equity rally max deep concentration risk.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. And then they also say government tightens grip on informal metal trade. Again, this is very, very important because those the Caliber boys, they are doing a lot of damage to us. And then CATS calls for Accra City Transportation Authority as commuter.
That was yesterday.
Let me take you
Where
now.
do you want to start from?
The OMC stories.
Yeah, I like it.
Yes, so Gifty Boateng writes for the New Republic this morning and says that a bitter public feud has erupted between the chief executives of Ghana's two largest fuel retailers, laying bare a simmering conflict over government price controls that pit free market rhetoric against accusations of hypocrisy, with consumers caught in the middle. Now, the war of words began when Philip Kwame Tieku, who is the CEO of the privately owned Star Oil, suggested on social media that his company could slash petrol prices to 9.50 Ghana cedis per litre during late night hours to support the nighttime economy. Now, he argued this was only prevented by a government-imposed price floor, which is a minimum price set every 2 weeks by the National Petroleum Authority, which currently stands at 9.80 Ghana cedis per litre. Now, there's a quote here that basically refers to what he said. Now, within days, his claim was met with a sharp rebuke from Edward Bauer, who is the group managing director of the state-owned Goil PLC. In a detailed Facebook post, Bauer did not name Tieku, but directly challenged the credibility of any oil marketing company, calling for deeper price cuts. Now, his core accusation, here's it: these very companies are not even selling at the current lower floor price.
Meanwhile, the IES says that fuel market stability is at risk without a price floor. This story is by Emmanuel Pong. It says the Institute for Energy Security has rejected claims that the MPA's fuel price floor is preventing OMCs from reducing pump prices, insisting the policy remains critical to fair competition and market stability. The response follows public comments by Star Oil, which suggests petrol could be sold at 9 CD50 pesos per litre off-peak night hours, if not for the MPA's approved price floor of 9.80 per litre. In a statement dated January 19, IES said the downstream petroleum sector is capital-intensive, high risk, and exposed to global price volatility and exchange rate movements, adding that the price floor was introduced as a competition stabilizing mechanism, not a price-fixing tool. More on this later on. We just want the prices to come down. With that oil sector, there's a tall story.
That's right. So Tema Oil Refinery can cut Ghana's fuel imports by half if fully revived. This is the deputy MD, who is Alhaji Mustafa Abubakar. He has outlined the strategic importance of reviving the refinery, saying its full operation could significantly reduce Ghana's fuel import bill and strengthen energy security. You are speaking on CTV's Oman Ghana and Koswo morning show, hosted by Yatiti. Alhaji Abubakar said toll remains one of Ghana's most critical national assets and must be prioritized along institutions such as Cocoa Board and Go Board. He disclosed that Ghana currently spends about $400 million every month importing petroleum products, a situation he described as unacceptable. According to him, a fully functional toll working in collaboration with the Akwaba Refinery and other facilities could refine enough crude locally to cut imports by at least 50%.
Okay, let me take you to stories related to Ken. So there's one here on page 4 of the New Republic, which says angry mob storms U.S. Embassy to drag VIP fugitive former minister home to face justice. The story says that political and legal saga.
This is in the New Republic.
Yes, the New Republic.
Okay.
Surrounding former Minister of Finance Ken Ofori-Atta has erupted onto the streets of Accra as pressure group Arise Ghana stages a major protest at the U.S. Embassy demanding his expedited extradition. Now, the demonstration underscores the deep public anger over high-profile impunity, but also reveals the complex, shadowy negotiations occurring behind the scenes to manage his return and potential trial. Now, organizers of today, which was yesterday's picket, using the hashtag Bring Back Ken Ofori-Atta, are demanding Washington reciprocate Ghana's past cooperation in extraditing U.S.
Meanwhile, the man himself will appear in court over immigration case today. This is a report on citinewsroom.com and other websites. That's basically the lead story. Ofori-Atta faces U.S. courts today. I think you have it in one of the papers.
Yes, it says that the long-awaited 20th January 2026 is finally here. Former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta will today appear before a U.S. court, which will determine the next phase of his legal fate from his current detention facility in the United States. The former Finance Minister will be heard virtually by the court. The hearing comes amid ongoing legal and diplomatic maneuvers surrounding his detention and mounting legal challenges. However, lawyer Martin Kpebu has promised to defend apprehensive Ken Ofori-Atta. So, private legal practitioner and law expert, Martin Kpebu, known for human rights advocacy, has elected himself to defend the rights of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. So that's just
Let's give you the latest on the transport challenges. GPRTU said they'll hold a meeting today over commercial vehicle ID tax. The planned meeting comes off after the ministry announced that transport unions had agreed to reintroduce identification tax for commercial drivers to help regulate the sector and curb fare abuses. You know, they claim these people are not their members. Speaking with ChannelOne Newsroom on Monday, Deputy Industrial and Public Relations Officer Samuel Amwa said the engagement will focus on agreeing on the modalities for implementing the identification system, particularly in the Greater Accra region, where the problem is much prevalent. Still on GPRTU, the unions are blaming high daily sales targets for the short trips. Now, despite repeated government assurance to deploy more buses, commuters say little has changed, leaving many stuck in long queues and enduring hours of waiting. Some commercial drivers, however, blame high daily sales targets imposed by vehicle owners for limiting the distance they have to travel. Don't forget, Ofuzu told us in the early 90s, you could do Accra to Tema 7 to 8 times. Now you can do it only 3 times. There's also traffic. The roads are not good. So in a way, there's pressure. At Botiano Junction Terminal, passengers expressed frustration over extended waits. Several drivers told ChannelOne News that they split trips into shorter journeys to meet high sales targets. Commuters at Old Barrier and Tetego reported similar struggles, urging the government to intervene and ease pressure during peak hours.
Let me take you to UTAG. They are not happy with the GTEC, and the story is on page 8 of the Insight for this morning. The story says the University of Ghana branch of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, has called on the Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, Professor Ahmed Jinapo Abdullahi, and his deputy, Professor Augustine Oklu, to resign honorably by January 31, 2026, warning that failure to comply will result in a formal petition to the Chief of Staff and potential industrial action. Now, in a strongly worded statement issued on Monday, January 19, 2026, UTAG accused GTEC of failing to fulfill its regulatory mandate and engaging in what the association described as quote-unquote tangential and sometimes frivolous actions, including pursuing individuals with alleged fake degrees while ignoring systemic challenges affecting public tertiary education in Ghana. Now, the association highlighted a series of structural and operational issues, noting that the quality of education in public universities has deteriorated due to inadequate budgetary support, poor infrastructure, and low remuneration for lecture. But
part of the statement describes what they say what Abdullah Jinapo is doing. So let me read the angle I have. He says Professor Ahmed Jinapo Abdullahi, his deputy director, Professor Augustine Oklu, should go because they are engaged in persistent administrative overreach. They are doing too no. You know, so it's an interesting story because
they are catching the people they are complaining.
Well, for me, they should do the catch in and also do systemic.
It does do, yes.
Caleb, there's a graphic story that will worry all of us. Last week we discussed land issues, and we were suggesting many ways of solving the problem. There's a very troubling daily graphic front page story. 98% of lands can't be registered, owners at risk in disputes. This is a story by Emmanuel Bohoxen. It says that over 98%, that's virtually all land in the country, cannot be registered with a title. The situation makes it extremely difficult for purchasers to properly secure such lands, leaving them vulnerable to land disputes. A justice of the Court of Appeal, Justice Alexander Osetutu, who made the assertion, explained that only the Greater Accra region, some parts of Kumasi, Kaswa, and its environs had been declared as registration districts, with the rest of the with the rest of the country not having that status. He described the situation as unfair and a major factor in the incessant land disputes across the country. Now, here's the context. Land title registration provides an indefeasible title as it ensures a state-guaranteed title. But under the current legal regime, only lands that fall within areas designated by the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources as registration districts can be registered for title. Those outside said districts rely on deed registration. The Justice of the Court of Appeal criticized the fact that although land title registration was introduced 40 years ago through the Land Title Registration Law 1986, PNDC Law 152, which had been further inculcated into the Lands Act 1036, more than 13 regions are yet to be declared registration districts. Then he goes on to give some other details. He called, so this is what he's calling for. He's called for expansion of registration districts to other parts of the country to provide people with a more robust mechanism of protection in the acquisition of lands. And he gave some statistics. I'm not sure whether he was speaking in court or addressing some particular
story.
Usually they will write before they tell you where he was speaking. So it's a lot. But basically, it's a very good story that will throw more light on some of the land discussions we have.
So I have two health-related stories. One, Greater Accra Regional Hospital, the Ministry of Health says it will investigate allegations of patient exploitation over there. So the Ministry of Health has announced plans to launch a formal investigations into allegations of patient exploitation at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, popularly known as Ridge Hospital, following a recent investigative publication by the High Street Journal. This is the Fourth Estate. Apologies. Now, in a press statement issued in response to the report, the ministry acknowledged receipt of the allegations and described the revelations as deeply troubling and requiring urgent scrutiny. Now, the investigative piece, which has gained significant attention on social media and across traditional media platforms, alleged systemic practices within the hospital that place undue financial and administrative burdens on patients seeking medical care. The other health story, though, is that 37 Military Hospital has commended the leadership of the National Health Insurance Authority for prompt claims payment. Comes with a photograph of the leadership of both sides. That story is on page number 8.
Let me take you to this story I drew attention to in the BNFC. So page 2 of the paper, the soft copy I have, says government tightens grip on informal metal trade. The story is by Joshua Wolasi Amlano, and it says government through the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation, CHISDEG, is moving to bring the largely informal scrap metal trade under regulation, a shift that authorities say is necessary to curb theft, improve data collection, and secure supplies for domestic steel producers, which rely heavily on recycled metal. Now, the policy developed by the GISDEG has received ministerial approval and is entering the implementation phase following months of consultations with industry players, traders, and state agencies. Now, the trade has operated for years with little oversight, despite its central role in feeding local.
So these are people
smelters.
Who collect
exactly those Caliber boys who go around
scrap metal and then it's not regulated. Now, government is to probe auction of 300 Metro Mass Transit buses. Nia Ikuokan is reporting that the Minister of Transport, Joseph Buka Inikwe, has announced that an investigation has been launched into a report surrounding the auction of over 300 Metro Mass Transit buses under the previous administration. The Deputy MD of the company, Harun Apawaredu, revealed that the buses were auctioned in the period leading up to the 24 general election, with some reportedly sold for as little as 2,500 cedis. Speaking to journalists in Accra, yesterday, the Minister of Transport said the probe is currently underway to determine whether the auction processes were conducted in a transparent and merit-based manner.
Okay.
He added that it's not something I can say, blah, 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 but basically they will check after the investigative report is done.
A taxi driver has failed armed robbery and crashed into the suspect. So a taxi driver has thwarted an armed robbery at Dakuman by deliberately ramming his vehicle into two suspects who had attacked a Momo vendor and stolen 7,700 Ghana cedis. Now one suspect escaped while the other was apprehended. The taxi driver used the taxi used in the intervention was damaged during the rescue, with photos showing its front bumper smashed. Now, online calls have been made to support the driver, urging donations to repair his vehicle, which is his main source of income. Now, the driver's courageous action has been widely praised, highlighting Ghanaians' determination to combat rising urban robberies. Now, if you look at the suspected robber's face, it has been mangled.
Okay. Like, they should not be doing that. It's wrong. Let me take you to page 8 of the Inside newspaper. Trade Minister hails fall in cement prices. The story quickly says the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Elizabeth Ofosei-Jare, has said the recent stability in the exchange rate has contributed to a reduction in cement prices, providing some relief to the construction sector. Now, Elizabeth Ofosei-Jare noted that before the current administration took office, 42.5R cement was selling at about 118 Ghana cedis per bag, while 32.5R cement went for around 113 Ghana cedis. She said prices have since eased, with 42.5R cement now selling at about 107 Ghana cedis and 32.5R cement price between 80 and 85.
Before we come to the US, a related story: why Ghana's banks are financing imports over local industry. High Street Journal's analysis says Ghana's banks favor financing imports over manufacturing because trade is faster, lower risk, and less exposed to public or policy uncertainty. Until industrial policies are consistent and credible, capital will keep flowing to import rather than domestic production. I think that summarizes the whole story. Now, there's a very interesting article on the BBC. It says, confronted over Greenland, Europe is ditching its softly approach to Trump. Now they are getting some steel. Something Europe has snapped. Donald Trump doubled down again on Monday in his insistence that the US needs Greenland for national security reasons. Now, this scenario has led to the Europeans. For example, Germany's finance minister on Monday said we will not allow ourselves to be blackmailed after an emergency meeting with his French compatriot. Now, France, the US is threatening, European countries to
impose tariffs on them.
Yes, and is asking them to sign some sort of pact, which they are refusing to sign. And therefore, it's become a big row, which could even lead to a full-blown conflict. We are keeping an eye on Europe and Greenland very, very closely.
Yeah, I think they are going to Davos this week, and hopefully maybe some headway will be made.
Yeah, Trump says he will 100% carry out Greenland tariff threat as EU vows to protect its interests. So the EU's foreign policy chiefs said the EU has no interest in picking up a fight against Donald Trump, but they will also not be bullied. So the matter... And on Monday, Trump declined to rule out the use of force and insisted he would press ahead with the threatened tariffs on goods arriving in the US from the UK and 7 other NATO allied countries.
I think the institutions of state in the US must rein him in. We expect most likely today the Supreme Court to make a decision on the constitutionality of his, tariff impositions.
He may even sack the Supreme Court.
The man doesn't have the authority to do that.
There was a movie we used to watch. The guy said, I don't fear who. Trump, you know, you fear who?
No.
He will sack the Supreme Court.
I hope that today they rein him in.
They can't do anything.
During the midterm elections, the Republicans will lose massively.
The elections, he said he doesn't think the election is important.
What are the elections?
His is completely out of order.
I thought this was your man, you know.
The fact that he's my man doesn't mean that when he's
no, Trump,
we should not deal with it.
I don't fear.